What is up, Pacer Nation? I'm Alex Golden.
And I'm Mike Facci, and we are the hosts of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace.
That's right, Facci. Tune in for your daily dose of Pacers basketball Monday through Friday, breaking down every game, transaction, and news around the Eastern Conference champs.
From the late-game heroics to Carlisle's chess moves, we're bringing the energy, the insight, and that pep in the step that you won't find anywhere else.
So hit that subscribe button and join the conversation.
Let's go, Pacers!
What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, and we're talking about preseason game number 2, where your Indiana Pacers beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 116-101 in Game 8 of the NBA Finals. And here to talk with me about that, he is the conductor of the Taelon Peter hype train. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for Michael J. Facci. Facci, what's up, buddy?
Choo-choo. The Taelon Peter train has taken off. I've been excited ever since Summer League. I can't say draft night because I said, who is that? But I have loved what I've seen, and I feel like he's gotten better each and every time that we've seen him out there, and this was as good as it gets for Taelon Peter.
Yeah, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. This was probably the best player in the game overall, and I just love the way that he fits into the system. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like he's trying to do too much. He's just very seamless. A great word right there. And I will just say this. We've talked about this at the beginning of his time in Summer League. Has great feel for the game, and it just seems like I posted a video on my Twitter account if you guys want to check that out, but there's a little thread there of some stuff from the first half that I noticed, and there was one play where he threw it up to Isaiah Jackson at the top of the three-point line, and as he was coming across, it's kind of like what the Pacers do with their random movement. As he's coming across to cut to the left side, Obi Toppin's cutting to the right side. They're almost like crossing paths with each other. So the defender kind of gets hung up that's guarding Taelon on Isaiah Jackson where he's at, and so he ends up backdoor cutting right into the paint and gets a wide open dunk. It was like one of his first baskets of the game. And that to me is just what he does. It's just very smart basketball and knowing where to be at the right time. So I just got to give him a lot of props. I felt like for 27 minutes, you needed him to play a lot, and it was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, he shot the 3-ball well, 4 of 8 from 3-point land. We know he's been a good 3-point shooter, but he's also rebounded well now in both preseason games. He's had 5 or more rebounds in both games, 5 assists in this game, to only 1 turnover. I just feel like it's not just to say, oh, it looks like he belongs. He stood out. And that's the thing that's been great for a guy that came off the bench, for one season at Liberty. Like this is a diamond in the rough type of find by the Indiana Pacers, scouting department. So I love what I saw out of him. And I feel like this was an interesting game where to me, that was like the main kind of big takeaway, I would say, because the starters did not play for the most part. You got a couple of, you got Benn Mathurin that started, Isaiah Jackson that started, but it was a very different starting lineup with Obi Toppin, Jarace Walker, and Cam Payne getting the start.
Yeah, and let's just talk about what OKC put on the floor. They basically sent all of their key players. They kept them in OKC, and Coach Dagnall said that at the beginning of the presser, like pregame presser. He said, we didn't bring a lot of our guys. I think Cason Wallace was the only guy that's been a starter at times that played with this group. You had Aaron Wiggins, who's a familiar name. AJ Mitchell came back from injury, Isaiah Joe. But for the Thunder and the Pacers, both teams suffer 2 injuries where both players leave the game. AJ Mitchell was on fire, had 16 points in the first half in 15 minutes. He was 6 of 8 from the field. He gets stepped on by his own teammate, Brooks Barnhizer. He goes out of the game. Isaiah Joe only played like 6 minutes and 31 seconds. He got stepped on, and he had to leave the game as couldn't really walk. Quenton Jackson played the first half, didn't return for the second half with a hamstring injury, which we already saw what happened with TJ McConnell with a hamstring injury. And then during the third quarter, Johnny Furphy injured his ankle. He did not return to the game. So no Quenton Jackson, no Johnny Furphy finished this game. No update on the injury. You're already without TJ McConnell. You're already without Tyrese Halliburton. No Cam Jones. Ben Shepherd still has not been cleared to play. Maybe he'll play on Friday. So 6 injuries now for the Pacers. That does not look good when you have 18 roster spots, including 2-ways. That's 33% of your team that can't play.
Yeah, I had tweeted it out. It feels like this is like football where like these guys, get into training camp and all of a sudden they immediately get hurt. It's like, I know there's, basketball is a demanding sport, but at the same point for these hamstrings and ankles to be just going left and right, it's a little bit alarming. Now it almost makes you like not even want to play the remaining of these preseason games or let alone have any of your like top starters out there, because Indiana is, knock on wood, a Pascal Siakam and Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard type injury away from like really having like a doom or gloom type of look to the start of the season. So Quenton Jackson playing fantastic in the first half. I think he looked like he might have been the best player on the floor in the first half. He's now played 2 back-to-back, I think, good, preseason games. He played 1 game in summer league where he looked good. I have probably never been as confident in a two-way player for us. Like, I feel like he is like a two-way player on steroids. Like, this is a guy that could be making a standard roster spot on plenty of other teams in the league. And then Johnny Furphy, once again, it feels like nightly he's having like a ferocious dunk that's making its rounds. Like, I'm just going to call it out there. I think we might see Johnny Furphy in the dunk contest this year.
Might be.
I don't think it's a hot take either. Like, I really feel like his dunks are starting to become a thing that you can almost expect. So I really hope that he's all right. I didn't think it made any sense for him to even try and attempt to come back to this game when he limped off. I just hope that this isn't something that's going to linger. I know we didn't have him necessarily with the clearest path of nightly playing time, but we felt like this is someone who could find his way into the rotation, and it wouldn't surprise us.
Well, you might need him to play a little bit more if you got TJ McConnell hurt and things like that. So you just never know. And of course, Ben Shepherd, whatever he's dealing with, if he doesn't come back fully healthy, like, will he be ready for opening night? There's a lot of question marks there. They still have about 10-ish days until opening night, Facci. So that to me is at least promising that you have some time to get these guys healthy. But I'll be interested to see if Furphy and or Quenton Jackson play against San Antonio on Monday. It's kind of a quick turnaround, just Sunday off. So Monday night, if you're listening to this on Monday morning, tonight the Pacers play the Spurs in preseason action. I'll have to be interested to see who plays and who doesn't play, because at this point, if you're Rick Carlisle, do you even play the starters again until the regular season? I mean, I think you kind of have to maybe at some point just to see what you have a little bit, but at the same time, it's a little bit nerve-wracking when you see how many guys keep going down, but it's just the nature of it. And if we really want to get into the conversation, I think people are probably the most interested in this is Quenton Jackson versus Cam Payne. And I will say this, Cam Payne did not look good in his stint out there. There was times he had a really nice throw-ahead pass, I believe, to Obi Toppin that was really nice, and there was ways he kind of fit in. His shot was off, things like that. But Rick Carlisle did say post-game that after like the first 5 minutes, Cam Payne was incredibly out of breath, and he was just like, he was having a hard time catching his breath. He said he's 30 years old. He's been a vet for a long time. He said it's just going to take him some time to get into like actual Pacer shape. And we heard him talk about Jay Huff. Took him like 2 or 3 weeks to really get into shape how the Pacers want to play. So this is why you kind of sign him early in training camp and preseason. So he has that 2-week buildup until the regular season. But here's what I'll say. For everybody freaking out about Cam Payne's play in preseason in game 1, I know I was a little bit overreactionary to DeLon Wright. It's a little different to me. Cam Payne's been there for 2 days. Quenton Jackson has been there for 2 years in the system, okay? There is a difference when you have a guy that has that much experience in the system. I thought Quenton Jackson looked better than Cam Payne, and I think if you're going into opening night against the Thunder, you might feel more comfortable with Quenton Jackson getting the backup minutes behind Andrew Nembhard. However, I will just say give Cam Payne a little bit of time to get into the Pacers system and learn things, because I do think that his fit is better than DeLon Wright in terms of how they like to play.
If there's one man that better suit up against the Spurs, it's Cam Payne. I got to see something. Look, I've called myself a Cam Payne hater. I definitely am. And I know that's a little strong. I don't want to root against anybody on the Pacers. But, man, he put up his first 2 shots in the first, 20 seconds of the game and just unloaded. All 4 shots came from three-point line. He already has the ugly shot to begin with, but when it doesn't go in, it just looks a little bit worse. Quenton Jackson, I am a fan, so it is, it's definitely not on the same equal, ground of this. Pacer basketball definitely is something a little bit different that is going to take an adjustment to, and you can't expect him to get signed on a Thursday and be looking good on a Saturday.
Yeah,
that's going to take some time. It's really quick. It's too quick. So I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt. In the first half, he was a -8, ends up finishing the game as a +5. So clearly in the second half, looked better, but 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 0 4 from the field, 3 fouls. There's not a lot to say, hey, you know what? I really saw something there. I think this is what happens when you've gone through quite a few different point guards between TJ McConnell, DeLon Wright, oh my God,
Monty Morris.
It's just like, so we're naming so many, like a laundry list of guys. I mean, some of these guys have been a Pacer for like 24 hours and then they're gone. But at the same point, for Cam Payne, I don't think he's the answer by any means. And if he doesn't look better, I don't want him to just be a shoo-in for the last spot. But I do still see the value of what we talked about with, you already have Quenton Jackson on a two-way contract.
Yeah.
You don't need to just elevate him and then just like, you can still keep him on that two-way contract. And I would rather him get those minutes than Cam Payne.
What'd you think of Ray J. Dennis's minutes in this game? I know that it's the other point guard that could be in the fold there, and I'll probably have to play a bigger role on Monday night if Quenton Jackson's a no-go with a hamstring.
He's had moments at times, but like he had 5 turnovers in this game. So you're talking about for a point guard, like he had 3 assists, 5 turnovers. I think he's just been too inconsistent. Yeah, he has 11 points. It's hard to really look into exactly. He's like a roller coaster. Like he does show things at times where you go, wow, okay, and then he shows some other things where you go, and that's why you're on a two-way. So I just think that for right now, like I don't have enough faith to be like, hey, you're the guy to take the minutes. I would put Ray J. Dennis and Cam Payne closer on a playing field than I would Quenton Jackson and Cam Payne right now. I just feel like I tweeted it out. I said, at this moment in time, I believe Quenton Jackson is a better NBA player than Cam Payne is. He's obviously younger. He's, probably more entering his prime-ish compared to Cam Payne, where he was better 5 years ago, was probably more of his prime.
I like that. It's like as soon as Quenton Jackson came into the game, he like pulled a 3. I know he didn't make it, but it's like he shot the 3. Maybe it wasn't the best look, but a lot of confidence in there. I know Cam Payne took his first 2 shots worth open 3s.
Yeah,
but they were open. It wasn't like he was shooting bad shots. He just missed them. I watched him in warmups, and he was really struggling with his on the dribble shot from 3, and he missed like probably 7 or 8 in a row. And like I was trying to video and post it on my Twitter account, and I was like, well, I don't want to just post like 40 misses. I was like, I know Facci will be having a field day with that one. But I think if you're kind of looking at the point guard spot, Facci, it makes you wonder, do the Pacers really need to consider making a trade with another team that has point guard depth? And you're going to like this because of the name I'm about to bring up. But the Chicago Bulls have a lot of point guards. And there is a guy over there that played at West Virginia, Javon Carter. That's their 4th-string point guard. He makes about $6 million. But if you don't bring in Cam Payne, then you have that roster spot still open right there for that 15th spot. You do have those exceptions you got with the Halliburton injury and things like that. You could just acquire him from Chicago if they have no desire to play him, because they've got like 15 guards already on their roster. So that, to me, could be somebody to look at. I just don't really know if he fits how the Pacers play. But defensively, I think he would really add something there.
Defensively, for those of you guys that are not familiar with Javon Carter, he was the top defender in college basketball 2 years in a row. They actually didn't have like a National Defensive Player of the Year the first year of that, but then they came out with it the next year, and he won that. So he was the best defensive player in college basketball for 2 years. So awesome guy. He is like, they call it a treadmill mentality at West Virginia, is like he can nonstop run. Like he can run. But obviously, from like an offensive standpoint, yeah, he's not this like incredibly gifted player. He's just like a roll up the sleeves, get to work type of player. But he actually has, for his career, been about a 38% 3-point shooter in this league. So his playing time has been all up and down. When you're talking about a 3rd-string point guard, I would rather have Javon Carter than Cameron Payne. I'm obviously biased. I went to West Virginia. Javon Carter was like the best player during my time there. But I just feel like this is someone that is going to lock in defensively, can shoot the 3 ball well, always made his money on defense, has a high motor. He can play like that, where you're talking about Cam Payne, right after 5 minutes, he's huffing and puffing. He's bricking 3s. It's like, it's a little gross. It really is. And, I'm at a point now where I don't want to defend Tony Bradley, but I'm like, man, if we're going to cut Tony Bradley, do it for someone that like makes this team better. And right now, I just feel like Cam Payne is simply the next guy up. Like he's the guy that we called, and it's like, okay, there are other people out there. I know everyone, we've talked about this an episode or 2 ago. Everyone's barking about like Westbrook or Ben Simmons, and like, I think the Pacers are just looking for someone that can just fit in and maybe place a handful of minutes if needed. But I feel like a guy like Javon Carter, like that could be an easy get for Indiana. So I do like the idea of it.
All right, before we take a quick commercial break, I want to get your rankings of the backup point guard spot now, obviously with TJ out. So between Ray J, Quenton, and Cameron Payne, how would you rank these 3 in terms of your confidence level and who should be backing up Andrew Nembhard while McConnell's out?
As much as I don't like Cam Payne, he is an NBA player that has been around for a while. And Ray J. Dennis, I can't say that about him. I just think that if you threw him on the court in live minutes, it would be very, very like, you don't really know what you're gonna get. So I would have to put Ray J. Dennis at last. Cam Payne, based off of experience, I would put him next, and then I would put Quenton Jackson ahead of the two of those. I just feel like, to me, like, I know it was one game, but we saw him drop 20 in an NBA game. We saw him lock in defensively at times. Like, there was times that he was a starter for the Pacers for an extended period of time, and it wasn't the worst thing. No. So I just feel like for him, like, that's going to be someone who, like, I think has an NBA career ahead of him on, like, standard contracts. While I do feel like Cam Payne is fighting for his NBA life, and Ray J. Dennis, I just don't see him being more than a two-way player in this league.
I would agree with you on those three players specifically and how you had them ranked. I think that's probably the best way to evaluate them so far through the small sample size we have. But I am a little bit curious, if you were to slot Cam Jones, a healthy Cam Jones, into that mix, would you have him above or behind Cam Payne?
I would have him above, just off of the potential of, like, this is your rookie with longer term potential that has higher upside at this point. It's just, the problem is like, he's missing such valuable time right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, see, for me, Facci, I feel like I haven't seen enough.
So that's where I'm at. I'm like, look, your summer league really wasn't that good. It really wasn't.
It got better. Every game it got better.
That's it, exactly. Every game got a little bit better. But like, you and I from the start were like, Taelon Peter has outplayed this man. He has definitely outplayed this man. And that continues. And obviously, Cam Jones not being out there is like, we would love to be able to see something to say, hey, what if he took those minutes? And like, that's not even an option right now. And I don't know the extent of when he'll even be ready. But it's just one of those where, like, I would definitely put Cam Jones ahead of Ray J. And then you look at Cam Payne, he just has so much more experience than Cam Jones that, like, if you're even talking about just like for a couple of weeks while McConnell's out, Cam Payne would probably end up doing a better job just off of experience.
I would agree with that. I think it's really, like, close, but you just have to go with the old reliable vet at that point to just, hang your hat on. There's a larger sample size there. So when we come back, we're going to talk Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin, their games, a little more Jarace Walker conversation. We'll get into all the bigs, and make sure you guys put a helmet on, because I think Gabe McGlothan just overshot another three. We'll be right back after this. All right, everybody, we are back, and we are going to be talking all things centers: Jarace Walker, Obi Toppin, Benedict Mathurin. Facci, where do you want to start?
Obi Toppin. Let's go to Obi Toppin. I really liked what I saw. First half, I think especially Obi was the guy. Like, really, got Indiana out early. 14 points, 6 of 10 shooting, 4 boards, 3 assists, a steal. I just feel like Obi Toppin is like that player that we've talked about. We expect him to take on a bigger role this year. And, like, obviously he's going to be more of a featured guy when you remove, when you don't have like a Tyrese Halliburton, a Miles Turner, a Pascal Siakam, an Aaron Nesmith, or an Andrew Nembhard. Like, that's Obi time. And I feel like, he looked good out there, and I thought that was encouraging.
My favorite play of the game, for him, was when he had that deflection with his offhand, and then he led the fast break, but kind of pulled up because the defense was back, and he saw Mathurin cutting, behind the defense, and he threw him a perfect lob pass. And it was like, to me, what I thought was so great about that play was not only the control that he had after stealing the ball and kind of pulling up and reading the defense, but he threw a perfect lob pass to Benedict Mathurin. And so we didn't get a chance to talk to Obi after the game because he didn't come to the podium, but I would love to know, as a lob catcher, how easy it is for him to kind of make that pass, knowing he knows where the ball wants to go. Because to me, it's like, I've never really seen Obi be like a guy that's making that pass. But I mean, that was a seamless throw to Mathurin. Mathurin didn't have to do much. It was just right there at the rim for him. And so Mathurin throws it down, and it was a nice play there that kind of got the crowd into it there at that moment in the game. So I really like what we're seeing from Obi Toppin. I feel like you're seeing a more polished player. There's less flaws in his game, even though he's not a flawless player. You realize how much better of a player he is sometimes when you see who else is out there on the court putting up shots and things like that. Like, when you compare him to Pascal, you're like, okay, he's not on that level. Yeah. But like, when you look at other players, like, you're like, okay, he is definitely a guy that belongs in a 6-man, 7-man rotation for a playoff team.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he has his limitations, but like, any team would love an Obi off the bench. I just feel like he is one of the more top tier, bench guys. No, he's not a six man of the year type of candidate or anything like that, but he is like a really solid off the bench type of player. I think if you were to say like seventh man, on this, he would be like an elite seventh man. But yeah, Obi looked really good. I think Benn Mathurin had some good moments as well. Getting the free throw line 9 times is classic Mathurin. 16 points, 6 boards. He was a +7. They kept showing that graphic of, I guess you were at the game, you didn't see it, but like, of what he averages as a starter. Nearly in his 49 games, 17 points, 6 boards. Look at him, starter, 16 points, 6 boards. Basically does that in just
One half.
minutes. Exactly. So I just feel like for Mathurin, hey, like this is great. We want to see, we would have seen a big game out of him if Mathurin played, say, 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, and I mean, I also want to put into context here, like who was on the court for OKC as well. Like, not that it matters, but they were playing a lot of zone. They didn't have a lot of size out there at the rim. I mean, we saw the Pacers do a lot of stuff with their centers there in the second half, really posting up J Huff a lot on that low post interior there. So I would just say Benn Mathurin to me, like stuff I'm watching for him. Like, I know he can score like 7 and 9 from the free throw line. Got to the free throw line quite a bit. I know all the stuff that he can do. It still is impressive when he's creating enough space on Case and Wallace to get the first basket of the game on that drive, right? Like he does little things like that. But what I really liked, and I pointed it out in a video I shared on Twitter as well, it was in the first quarter. It was like one of the very first plays of the game. He ends up getting a really nice pass from Jarace as they're moving the ball around. And as soon as he caught the pass, he saw the defense shift, and Isaiah Jackson had an opening in the middle of the paint there. So he threw a quick pass to Isaiah Jackson, led him right to the rim. Isaiah caught it, but missed the layup. But still, it's just that processing right there of him seeing that pass and making it. Because that's what we've been asking of Benedict Mathurin is, can you be a better passer in this system? It's not like you have to be the initiator of the offense with your passing, but just like make that quick pass, make that quick read and keep the ball moving and make the defense play on their heels. So I'm seeing growth from him for sure. I think defensively, I've seen some steps forward from him as well. I will say one of the things about Mathurin's defense for me too, and maybe you guys can pay more attention to this, like he'll really have good initial first defense, and then sometimes that second, third part of that defensive sequence there, he might make a gamble or lose a step or something happens where he gets beat. But I just like the initial defense and how it's gotten better. Like he was taking on Case and Wallace. Case and Wallace was guarding him, 2 best guards on the court. And Case and Wallace, we know, is a very solid defender. So Mathurin being able to do what he did, I thought was pretty impressive, even though I know OKC was in his zone for majority of the game. But guarding Case and Wallace went 2 of 8 from the field. It wasn't like he had a great offensive game. And I think one of his first baskets was at the beginning of the game where he was able to blow by Mathurin. So I just think that there's going to be growth there for him on that side of the court, and I'm excited to see it. Quinn Buckner talked about how his defense has improved since he got here, but to me, I was more impressed with like the quick passing, the cutting, and doing all the right stuff offensively as well, because to me, that's going to be huge for him in the shooting guard role.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I think that from year 1 to now is really where you got to take a look at that and be, okay, the growth has definitely been there. Like he's not just going to like become this all NBA type of defender, but I think we've seen more and more better effort. And I think that's been really encouraging as each year goes on, especially, passing wise, talk about the vision. Like I know he had 1 assist. We talked about one that he missed. Mathurin was a black hole for the first like year or so of his career. Like there was like, he would have many games where 0 assists. Just at all. Wasn't even looking to pass. So I think he's definitely improved in that aspect. No doubt about it. Jarace Walker gets a start. I think Walker, like we know that he's a gifted passer as a big man. We saw it on display tonight. 7 assists. I thought that, I said tonight, but previous night, 7 assists, 8 boards. Thought he was really good with that. Struggled shooting from the field, but I also feel like that's kind of like the least of our worries. Like 1 of 6 from 3, that doesn't worry me because historically he's a 40% 3-point shooter. So the ball might have just not really gone in as much, the other night. But I think everything else that he did, I thought was really good. And he was a plus 21 in the game, which led all players.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting there at the end of at one point in the game, I think it was the end of the third quarter, they pulled J Huff out and they put Jarace in to play small ball 5. And I don't know if he was necessarily playing the 5. Maybe they had McGlothan and they're playing the 5, or Slawson was playing the 5. I don't know exactly who was playing the 5 position, but they didn't have one of the 4 big men out there. And I thought that was interesting to me that they decided to go with Jarace and go a little bit smaller for like 2 or 3 minutes. I can't remember what the exact time was there in that third quarter. But I felt like this was a much better showing from Jarace than what we saw in Minnesota. But I still there's still some times when I want to see him play with more force, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He had a really nice move in the first half that looked very Pascal Siakam-esque. He had a little spin move, kind of fell to the ground, laid it in. Like, it was a really nice touch. That to me is like great scoring stuff, but like defensively, like he was in the right spot a lot of times. That play that he had the bounce pass to Obi Toppin when he went for the windmill dunk, like that was a great defensive play by him because Aaron Wiggins was driving the basket. He steps up to kind of play help defense, and Aaron Wiggins was like, "Oh shoot, I can't make the shot over Walker." Kind of lost the ball. Was trying to like find a way to get rid of it in the air. Jarace able to pick that ball up after he loses it, gets a steal, makes that bounce pass, and like that's a very hard pass to make, and not a lot of guys can make it. So that just kind of shows you the natural instincts that he has and the natural gifts that he has as well. So yeah, I thought it was a very, very solid game from him offensively. Like most of his shots were open. Like it wasn't like he was forcing bad threes, or maybe one was like an end of shot clock three that he took, but a lot of them were open looks that just didn't go in. So to me, like if the looks are good and you're doing other things that are impacting the game, like 8 rebounds, 7 assists, like, 1 steal. You dang near had a triple-double with just 10 points. You had the best plus-minus of anybody on the court. So that to me is like, okay. And he had a good plus-minus a previous game as well. So it's just going to show you, like, he's been out there when the team has had their best success.
Yep. That's why, like, the shooting percentages, I just crumple that up, throw that away. He's historically been, a much better shooter. So I'm not worried about that. So I thought that was a good step forward. I think, if he, 1 or 2 threes go in, all of a sudden, you're looking at, wow, this guy had a really solid game. But a good step forward from him. Bench-wise, I mean, we already talked about Taelon Peter. He definitely looked fantastic. Quenton Jackson, we already touched on him, of what he did in the first half. Hamstring injury, we have no idea what's going to happen with that. Hopefully that doesn't linger. There's always different severities of a hamstring. So, like I said, hey, the name's Facci, not Fauci. I got no idea from a medical standpoint, what we're looking at. But, talking about some of the other centers.
Well, let's talk about Furphy real quick. We haven't talked about Furphy yet before we get into the centers. I know we talked about the dunk heard around the world. That was incredible. But, like, I thought for the most part his game was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, really, I think that, like, there's been enough each time to be encouraged about. Like, he didn't have it going from three-point land, but he made all of his twos. He's playing hard. We've seen him as a really good rebounder at plenty of times. The ankle injury, we hope, is something that doesn't set him back, because obviously when you're on the outside looking in, but you have the opportunity for it to come across playing time, you hope that you're not going to miss too much time. So Johnny Furphy, I've been, not to say pleasantly surprised, I've just been happy with what I've seen from Furphy from summer league to now.
Yeah, and what's funny is I keep getting messages or people asking me, like, what do you think it's going to take Shepherd to do to get a spot back? I said, Shepherd hasn't lost a spot.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I understand he's not played because he's been hurt, but like Furphy has got to do other stuff better than what he's, Furphy is getting a lot of attention because he's young. He's improved a lot since last year. He's dunking on everybody and he's making highlights. And Jay Huff even joked about it in the post game. He was like, I was pretty upset with our social media team that decided that they were going to post that dunk of practice when Furphy dunked on me without asking my permission. But he was joking, obviously. Yeah. He's like, I had to see that posted like 7 times on their social media page. But, it was just funny to me. Like, that was a great dunk, and like that's little things he can bring to the arena, bring to the table. The shooting is going to come and go. He's a good rebounder, has a good knack for the ball. There was one play at the end of the first quarter where he caught an air ball 3, got fouled on the reverse layup trying to put it up. So it's like little things like that is ways he can integrate himself into the game. But Shepherd just does everything a little bit better at this point because he's had that experience. He's been to 2 finals, Eastern Conference Finals runs, and then an NBA Finals run last year. So he's got more experience in that regard. And so I think Carlisle just trusts him a little bit more and what he can do. But yeah, I mean, I think that the sky is, the limit for Johnny Furphy, and he's going to keep getting better. It's just little by little, he's going to find time. And I mean, Chris and Harry talked about this too, Fletch. Rick Carlisle might even play 12 guys in a rotation.
Could.
We were struggling with our 10-man rotation.
Yes.
Right. When I said, let's do a 10-man rotation exercise, and you were trying to throw in Wiseman and Furphy, and I said, it's 10-man, Facci. You can't add an 11th and 12th. You said,
Wiseman ain't getting in. Yeah, I mean, the way these minutes are shaking out
we'll have to talk about that in a second, but I'm just saying, like, hey, maybe Rick does go 12. Maybe he does feel the need to play more guys, and maybe somebody's not clicking right away, and so he's like, let me try a different combination. I mean, Rick said it last night when I asked him about the centers and what his evaluation of the 4 centers was. we're going to have to figure out ways to play different based on our personnel. And so I think that you're not just going to see the Pacers playing fast like they want to, like the standard is the standard, like they said, but I personally think like you might not be able to play that way when you're limited with who you have roster-wise.
It's very possible. It really is. And that's why, like, for Furphy, I was like battling to find him some minutes because I'm like, this guy can contribute to winning. Like he really can, but it felt like awkward to be like, well, here's the 3 minutes reserved for Johnny Furphy. Like, no, like he'll find a way to be able to get into this rotation at times. It might take a little bit of an injury, it might take some sluggish play from someone else, but this, going back to your point on Ben Shepherd, this is probably the most excited I've been to see Ben Shepherd. I got to see some Ben Shepherd. I got it. I just feel like all off season been a little bit down on him, and now I just like if Shep comes out there and he hits like 3 threes, like I'm back. I'm gonna be excited to just be like, see, like you can't take his minutes away until he gives them away. And I feel like for Ben Shepherd, like let's give him that benefit of the doubt. I really hope that we can see him out there soon. And I think this is a guy who you remove the starters and he has a bigger opportunity. I think he's going to make the most of it, especially in preseason.
All right, let's talk about that center rotation that you were hinting at there because it has been a puzzling piece. It's been a puzzle, really, just to kind of see how Rick Carlisle's putting the pieces together for the center rotation. Isaiah Jackson seems to be the clear starter for this team right now, with J Huff being the clear number 2. But I'm really struggling to figure out who that number 3 is because, once again, Tony Bradley comes into the game in that second quarter before we see James Wiseman. And then that entire third quarter, J Huff plays the entirety of that quarter until I think he picked up his 5th foul. They put Jarace Walker in for him. You don't see James Wiseman enter the game until the 4th quarter. And that's what we like to call garbage time. Okay.
Yes.
So that to me is kind of like, what am I supposed to think of James Wiseman and where he stands?
It was at the point where I started searching James Wiseman's name on Twitter, thinking maybe I missed something. I thought like maybe like this is like, I don't know, injury management and he's not going to play tonight. Because like last time around, I mentioned he didn't get in until there was 3 minutes left in the third quarter. And I was like, oh, that's pretty late. If it's preseason, like, come on. Like, what is this? The Pacers had like a 24-point lead at one point. And this situation doesn't get in until the 4th quarter. The guys that he's playing with, for the most part, aren't even NBA players. So I'm just like, this is interesting. And I feel like he definitely made the most of his minutes in terms of like, James Wiseman, it's hard for me to say that he's like gotten better. Like he hasn't extended any of his range or whatever it is, but like there's 4 of 4 from the field, 10 points. But the problem is the minutes. He had 5 boards. It's like when you're not playing in the 4th quarter and it's preseason and there's guys that are like long shots that are playing, more minutes than you and earlier, it makes me feel that you're not expected to be that involved. And even if he's to say Tony Bradley doesn't work out, they go Cam Payne and he's to maybe take a couple minutes, you're looking at a couple minutes, it really doesn't look like you're even in the rotation. So I think maybe we were just a little bit higher on James Wiseman off of the mirage of that 5 to 6 minutes that we saw last year to start the season. But for right now, maybe they're taking it easy on his body. I really don't know.
That's an interesting point because I'm looking here at the minutes distribution, and it's Isaiah Jackson, 11 minutes, 49 seconds. James Wiseman, 12 minutes. Are they limiting the roster, like the minutes played for the guys coming back from the Achilles injuries? And it's just easier to kind of build your rotation this way because who knows if Tony Bradley gets into the game if J Huff doesn't get in foul trouble. Like that's something we don't know for sure. And the same thing happened in the first game with Isaiah Jackson. He gets into foul trouble instead of messing up the rotations, how they had things built in. Tony Bradley is that guy that gets in there with that first string group in opening or the first preseason game against Minnesota. So that to me is where I'm just like, how much can I actually read into this? But to me, it does feel like a little bit of a story just because this is now 2 games in a row that Tony Bradley has hit the floor before James Wiseman. And to me, like, I don't think it's that deep where you're really trying to like determine who's playing what because you could just play Tony Bradley the rest of the game if James Wiseman does reach his 12-minute threshold that you're trying to keep him to. So I just kind of feel like maybe my $5 will be staying in my pocket. Maybe my $5 will be coming. Maybe I'll be making $5 from Facci because there's a chance Tony Bradley could still be on the roster past January if they decide to cut James Wiseman and keep TB. I would not be surprised if Rick Carlisle decided that just because, to me, for James Wiseman, He's got a partial guarantee, I think, on this deal. It's not fully guaranteed. So
Maybe can't be much, but
it's not much, I don't think. But we
something.
know Tony's is non-guaranteed, and I think the way the front office kind of like phrased it, it felt like Tony was the odd man out.
Definitely.
I think we saw enough in the playoffs last year where Rick trusted Tony versus
I think he does trust him.
Thomas Bryant, and even at times Miles Turner. So that to me is just like, I think Rick just like knows he's old reliable, but like 5 minutes, 36 seconds, he's a +10, 4 minutes, and whatever he played last game, he was a +9. He's been a +19 in the 2 games he's played together. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
I know. And it's like they're not asking him to do that much, but he's not like messing anything up. So I think he's playing, a couple minutes of just solid basketball where he's just holding his own defensively, and I think that's been good. But yeah, it's still like, is this enough to hold down the roster spot for now when you need some point guard help? I don't know. It's an interesting type of situation, but like, yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. I wanted to see a little bit more out of James Wiseman or see Wiseman with any meaningful players. But it is what it is so far. I'm imagining they probably did have some sort of minutes restriction, and rather than maybe play him a couple of minutes in like the second quarter and a couple of minutes there, maybe they thought, hey, let's give him 12 minutes straight, or something of the sort, whatever it may be. But going back to Jay Huff,
real quick. For James Wiseman's contract, it is only $1 million guaranteed, and the rest is fully guaranteed on January 10th, 2026.
Interesting.
So it's really not that big of a hit, and it says a club option for next year, and 1.13 would be guaranteed on that. So that to me, it's a little bit interesting, Facci. I just only having $1 million cap hit might not be the end of the world if you end up keeping Tony Bradley over James Wiseman.
I'm already thinking, hey, you ain't gonna see year 2 on that. I just feel like the way it's early, but we'll see what happens. But going back to Jay Huff, we've now seen from 2 preseason games his shot blocking is real. He had five shots blocked in these 2 preseason games so far. So like that's a trait that I feel like isn't going away. We already mentioned he did pick up 5 fouls in 17 minutes. That's a lot. He shot the ball better, 3 of 3, didn't even attempt a 3 in this game. But I feel like for Jay Huff, from a rim protection standpoint, I stand by it. Like this guy is a real shot blocker. He really is. And you got to remember, like sometimes shot blocking is a little bit overrated. Like obviously at one point in time, I do think that Miles Turner might have been the best shot blocker in the league or in the world, as we say. But like there were also times that he averaged closer to 2 block shots. And I feel like Jay Huff can give you that on a nightly basis if you give him not Turner minutes, but like if he's playing 15 to 20 minutes or anything of that sort, I think he's going to give you 2 blocks. Last year, Miles Turner played 30 minutes. He gave you 2 blocks. The year before that, 27 minutes. He gave you 1.9 blocks. So I feel like from a shot blocking standpoint, Jay Huff has us covered. I believe that.
I do too, and I thought Jay Huff had a really good game last night. I thought besides the fouls, right? Like he got in some stupid fouls. Like one of them, I felt like one of the players grabbed his arm and he went to block a shot. Like it wasn't even like he made contact. So got the benefit of he didn't get the benefit of the doubt on that one. But I just overall, like when it comes to Jay Huff, like I think he's fitting in seamlessly with this group. Like he only had 3 made baskets, and all 3 of those I feel like were dunks at the basket in the third quarter. Not trying to overshoot anything. What do you have? 1 assist in this game, so not a lot of passing from him in this one. But we've seen passing before. Had 3 turnovers, so it's just he had like a lot of threes across the board. It felt like, but none of them were made threes. So Jay Huff is a decent player. I'm not overly blown away.
Exactly. Like I think maybe at least me, wanted to get see something to just go wild about. And
but we really haven't seen him with the starters. So that to me is like
that's a fair point.
With the bench guys, and he didn't play a whole lot with TJ because he got hurt, and so it's been a lot of like, Quenton Jackson and Taelon Peter and like guys that you probably won't see in the regular rotation a whole lot. Maybe Q does play a little bit more, but I'm just saying, and Q and J actually have a lot of chemistry together from playing before in Washington. So I just think overall, like that is where I'm at. But other than that, I think we've pretty much touched on everybody else. Haven't touched on Jalen Slawson or Gabe McGlothan. Do you want to talk about those 2 players at all, or want to keep it just?
I don't know if we need to. It hasn't been great. But I just feel like at this point, like you could see that's why there are more training camp invites. They actually combined to go 1 of 11 from the field. And
one of 9 for Gabe McGlothan. So don't put Jalen Slawson as he's like this guy.
I know. Slawson's 0 for 2 doesn't deserve to be lumped in there. He did have 8 rebounds there. And, like I said, there was at least a moment last preseason game before this against Minnesota where he did hit a couple threes. I know he missed, his first few, but at the same point, those two are just they're not NBA players. They're not two-way players. I think they are training camp G League type of players. So overall, the Pacers, I can't say they made it out injury-free. They definitely didn't. That's 2 games in a row now. I'm getting a little bit worried. We play the Spurs, while you're listening to this, most likely on Monday night. That's going to be interesting to see who is out there. I want to protect the boys at all costs, and it's like, yeah, and I almost had like I don't know what type of accent you say that. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know something. But I just feel like keep the boys healthy. Yes, the Pacers won both these preseason games. It's good to be in like the habit of winning, but not at all costs.
I like that Taelon Peter said, we remember this game from Summer League, and we saw a lot of those same guys, so we kind of wanted some revenge. I thought that was pretty funny. But it's just like he knew like things they could have done better to beat them in Summer League. So it's like we saw a lot of these same guys, and like this is what it felt like. It felt like Summer League game.
Yes, I agree with that. This was like a Summer League with a little extra spice
like
to
it. Glorified Summer League game.
Exactly. Right? Like this was like a flat out exhibition type of performance where you got like Obi Toppin and Jarace in there and, a little bit of that, but the rest is pretty much all.
Benedict.
Yeah, you got Mathurin out there. The rest was Summer League-esque type players, but hey, a win's a win. This one, the game against Minnesota, it would have felt a little gross if we blew the lead and then lost. The Pacers were in control for a good amount of this game, and I felt like in the second half is really where they kind of ran away for it. Good third quarter. Didn't need to see any of the starters really play in the second half. I think overall, I'm just now like waiting by the phone. What's going to happen to Johnny Furphy? What's going to happen to Quenton Jackson?
Yeah, the injuries are making me nervous, Facci. That's all. That's the only thing I'm like really worried about for Game 3 preseason wise. Like, can we just stay healthy? Because can't afford any more injuries, and if they do, like, they're gonna really need to reevaluate some of the players they have, and like they might have to make some moves. I mean, I know it sounds crazy to think about, but they just might have to do that. So, good win for the Pacers. Good showing from some of the players, like we mentioned. I think we would say our player of the game was Taelon Peter.
Definitely.
So 27 minutes, 6 of 11 shooting. Mentioned all this earlier, but just want to reiterate it. 4 of 8 from 3, 2 of 3 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, only 1 turnover. Was a +3 in the game, but at 18 points. So really nice showing from Taelon as he continues to just fit into the system seamlessly. So with that being said, Facci, if you're hoping the Pacers can pick up another preseason win and stay completely healthy with the group they put out there, then hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go Pacers.
Setting the pace, going to the top. Setting the pace, going to the top. This is your #1 podcast. Sweeping every team. We gon' need a mop. Smooth.